Good evening. I would like to take a few moments tonight to review Wright-Hennepin's 2012 excellent financial position. By that I mean your cooperative again was able to provide competitive electric rates. We made the proper investment into the electric grid to provide you industry-leading reliability. We returned a record $3.7 million to you in the last few months in capital credits, and our local operating costs are the lowest in our industry. Let me give you a few more details about all that, beginning with the December 31st, 2012 balance sheet. If you'd like to follow along, please refer to the top of page 6 in your program, the top of page 6. Line 3, total utility plant assets 2012 ending balance of $151 million. Net growth over 2011 was $3.8 million. We continue to responsibly invest in construction and maintenance of the electric grid to make sure we provide reliable service from Wright-Hennepin. In fact, as this slide shows, average outages per customer in 2012 were lower than ever. Line 10, other property and investments, $41 million. The vast majority of this, $32 million, represents our share of Great River Energy patronage allocations, which in turn have been allocated to you in the form of capital credits. Great River Energy currently provides 80% of our wholesale power needs. Great River Energy has deferred the retirement of capital credits since 1998 due to the significant build-out of new generation and transmission lines, such as those you see along the freeway from St. Cloud to Monticello. Other property and investments also includes ownership in our other power supplier, Basin Electric Power Cooperative, plus our lenders, Cooperative Finance Corporation, and CoBank. This line also includes the diversified businesses your cooperative owns. Amongst other things, these diversified businesses have assisted with providing competitive electric rates, additional services for customers, and scholarships to students in the local schools. Line 11, cash and cash equivalents, $11 million. These are exceptionally strong cash levels. 3 years ago, we took advantage of very attractive interest rates to assure available funding for future planned construction. Since that time, our cash needs have remained stable and we have not had to borrow. Line 17, total current and other assets, $23.5 million, which includes the $11 million of cash. Line 18, deferred debits, $14 million. Up $12 million over 2011. In 2011, your board made the decision to terminate the legacy defined benefit pension plan offered through our National Trade Association. After in-depth research and analysis, it was determined that Wright-Hennepin could no longer justify the unsustainable cost increases of the defined benefit plan. As we move through the pension plan termination process for a lower cost alternative, the plan value needs to temporarily sit on the balance sheet. Once the plan is terminated, the additional dollars will not be reflected on the statements. That brings us to line 19, total assets, December 31st, 2012, the book value of your business, $184,891,106. Line 22, members' equity, $75.4 million. The majority of it is allocated to you, the member. Of the $75.4 million of equity, $33 million is equity allocated to you from annual margins from our power suppliers, Great River Energy and Basin Electric. Line 27, long-term debt, $75 million, which is Wright-Hennepin's mortgage on the $151 million investment in plant made of poles, wire, meters, transformers, substations, etc. This is an excellent debt ratio for electric cooperative utilities. We are pleased to say that we have the majority of our debt borrowed long-term at a very favorable blended rate of just over 4%. This favorable interest rate is another way to keep your monthly electric costs competitive for the long-term future. Line 33, current and other liabilities, $30.6 million. Other liabilities are greater than 2011 only because of the temporary booking of the pension as previously discussed. Line 35, total members' equity and liabilities equaling total assets, $184,891,106. Moving on to the 2012 Statement of Operations found on the bottom of page 6, Line 51, operating revenues, $84.5 million. Strong revenues and margins were produced in 2012. In fact, the operating revenues were so strong that your board was able to defer $1.2 million of the revenue into 2013 to help with rate competitiveness. The $1.2 million was made possible through diligent attention to power supply costs, local operating costs, and contributions from the diversified businesses. To you, the member, the deferral represents competitive 2013 rates and more dollars in your pockets in 2013. Line 52, cost of power, Wright-Hennepin's single largest cost, 70% of revenues, $59 million. Each year, we budget for the amount of energy we believe we need to purchase and then divide that by our total costs to get the average retail price per kWh that you see on your electric bill. Simple calculation, but a lot of things can happen that affect that projection, such as hotter or colder weather, the overall economy, as well as the things we try to do internally to reduce costs. In 2012, for instance, we were able to significantly reduce power costs with more sophisticated control of our off-peak homes and our commercial generators. That success reduced millions of dollars from our wholesale power bills, from your electric bill. Plus, the new power supply arrangement that your board signed in 2006 saved us, you, millions of dollars in 2012. Also in 2012, our local operating costs, found on lines 53 to 56, continue to be among the very best in the nation. This slide shows how well your cooperative is doing in keeping costs under control. These are the costs to run our local electric grid in Wright and Hennepin counties. In 2012, these amounted to $11.8 million, very similar to 2011. In fact, the slide shows how closely we've managed these costs for a decade. We've achieved this not by cutting maintenance or services, but through higher efficiencies gained through aggressive technology deployments managed by trained and motivated employees. Line 60, fixed charges, $10.2 million, comprised of property taxes, depreciation, and interest. 2012 fixed charges were lower than 2011. That leaves us with a margin from electric operations of $3.5 million found on line 61. These were greater margins than we had anticipated because of the savings resulting from our cost control strategies. And because the margins were greater than needed, your board of directors passed on to you a special capital credit retirement just last month, a credit on your electric bill. The total of the special retirement was $2.5 million. The special retirement of $2.5 million was in addition to the $1.2 million general retirement which the majority of you received over the holidays last December. Again, a unique advantage of being member owner of the electric cooperative. Profits passed back to you, a record $3.7 million back in your hands within a 4-month period. Line 62, Conservation Improvement Program, $550,000. We are mandated by the state to spend dollars towards conservation improvement programs for our membership. Line 63, non-operating margins, almost $500,000. These margins include interest income as well as profits from the diversified businesses after contributions to the electric operation to lower electric rates. Contributions from the diversified businesses reduced your price of power by almost $2 million in 2012. Line 64, net operating and non-operating margins combined amount to $3.4 million. Line 65, generation and transmission and other capital credits comprised primarily of Wright-Hennepin's portion of annual patronage capital allocations from Great River Energy and Basin Electric, our power suppliers, as well as our lenders, Cooperative Finance Corporation and CoBank, $3.7 million. These margins are only margins. There has not been cash received yet for these profits, but accounting rules require us to recognize them on our operating statement, as all cooperatives do. The entire amount of the power supplier's allocations have been passed through as an allocation to capital credit accounts in your names, along with prior year's allocations. Line 66, net margins, our consolidated bottom line for 2012, $7,146,256. An excellent margin, especially when considering you were provided with competitive rates. Per the bylaws, margins from the electric operations are returned in the manner we always do, in the form of capital credits, which are credited on your electric bill at the end of each year. Over $37 million in capital credits have been returned to you since 1957. Your cooperative had an exceptional financial and operating year. It has been my pleasure sharing with you 2012's excellent financial condition. This is again one of the most favorable reports that I have had the privilege to give you, and I hope it demonstrates the solid financial position of your cooperative.